Aloha, nirashaimase. Welcome to Sup-Sapporo, Dosanko Live. This is Chad and Jamie hanging in Sapporo, Japan. Thanks for joining us. If you're back and like what you heard, please support us and hit that subscribe button. Mahalo.
Holy fuck!
Good reaction.
It is a bit overwhelming the first time.
Yeah.
Damn. All right, episode 15.
Okay.
Let's do
Special
this.
guest. All right. We have our special guest, Amos, my friend Amos Barnett.
Barnett, but yes.
Barnett.
Close
I'm sorry,
enough.
Barnett.
Barnett? I just heard like 4 types of pronunciations just now.
There's a few variations on the name that show up in the phone book. I remember looking through the phone book and it's like, there's a Barrett, Barnett, and there's different numbers of T's and N's and another thing that's like...
The
where did that come
Japanese phone
from?
book?
I have no idea.
Like katakana?
No, not Japanese phone book, Australian phone book.
Oh.
The accent isn't very strong though. It's kind of mutated towards my parents' British accent because I teach English, the usual kind of thing. And...
I see.
you know, going to kids, get out, going, blah, 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 and all that, as Australians do, is like incomprehensible.
Nice. Yeah, well,
So
nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you
you're-
as well. So,
Yeah. You're Jamie's friend. Jamie, go ahead. Take it.
No, I was going to say, Amos, could you just do an introduction about yourself, some background, and some information about yourself?
oh, sure. Well, let's see, where do we begin? So, I'm from Australia. I was born in Australia, and so I started doing Aikido, same thing you did, and back in high school, and then university, and I met Japanese people. We had visitors come over from Japan, and in my really crappy university Japanese and their really crappy English, we managed to. It's like, oh wow, they're not aliens from another planet. Like this is back when I had never met Asian people, or hardly ever. And so you have no idea. You feel like you don't know anything, and then actually, wow, these people are actually really interesting. And so I went to Japan on a working holiday, came back. I went after one woman, chased after one woman, came back without her, met another one, and then I ended up living. I've been living here for about 14 years. So, I graduated to the whole owning a house thing and having family and. It's like, holy crap, I have a normal life. How the hell did that happen? So, where did that come from? I have kids and they're not insane. It's like, so we're at that stage. And so I was doing Aikido and I have trouble keeping employment. It sounds terrible. It means I sound like a big loser. But actually I ended up doing the YouTube thing at a friend's suggestion. And it's sort of picking up now because I already had a reputation amongst kind of the headphone hobby thing. And so it's kind of gone from there, and I'm slowly building that up as and teaching still, but because teaching kids is a lot of fun, and so yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm cruising along nicely here.
Nice.
And
You hear that, Jamie?
Yeah.
It's fun.
One person's fun is another person's insanity. So,
Yeah.
So, where are you located right now?
I'm in Fukuoka. The obvious thing I should say, I'm in Fukuoka. Which turns up can trigger some swear filters. Fuck you, Oka.
I never heard that.
No,
I like that one.
But sometimes it's like you type in your name if you look. It's like Matsushita. It sometimes has shit in the middle.
Shit.
So because there are vacuum tubes made by Matsushita, as you pronounce it in Japanese. It tells you can't type Matsushita into some forums because it will come up as triggering the swear filter. It becomes Matsu **** ta, or something like that. And also Fukuoka, and it's like nearer Korea than it is Tokyo. So we're just the typhoon's supposed to be coming. It's already hitting Lower Kyushu. It's sort of like
it's not there yet.
It was a category 5 when it was way south of Okinawa, and there were like the stores here have been stripped of stuff. Everything.
I've seen some pictures, man. I've seen some pictures. Yeah.
Yeah, I should do a screen share actually. There's just so much. The stores are stripped of stuff. Should I do the requisite screen share? It was going to let me. Hold on, I've gone full screen in Zoom, and it's now confused confused my system.
Wait.
So
Am I
If I
allowed
can-
multiple participants can share simultaneously?
Did you allow screen share? I can do a screen share.
I think I just enabled it. I hope. No?
Okay, let's try. I have a magic button here because I used to use Zoom for teaching. Oh, it's going to let me, I think. Now, and then the screen, the monitor. I've set this up with multiple monitors so I can chat to you guys, and I can't find the window. Here we go. So
Oh,
that
there we
was
go.
just tonight. So
Yeah.
Whoa.
the batteries all gone.
I've seen the grocery store too. I have some friends there and they sent some pictures. Everything's stripped. It's just like Hawaii when we get like a
Yeah.
level 1 hurricane coming, you know.
So that was, yeah. So the places like Cup, they showed on the news everywhere. All the cup ramen and everything was gone, and that kind of thing. All the instant foods were gone, and even we were thinking about maybe we should go shopping on Thursday. I should have stopped by the store on Thursday because Friday was just nuts. The hardware store too. We have these giant hardware stores. Like if back in Australia we have big hardware stores, but nothing like the ones in Japan, and they just have like 100,000 products. The places don't even bother inventorizing it seriously. They just have prices on everything because tracking the inventory would probably require a supercomputer. And did we lose Chad there?
Yeah,
disappeared,
my cheap camera thing shut off. I'm coming back. Switch
All
on,
right,
bitch.
so I'll keep going anyway. So they had the
Yeah,
hardware. I should find a picture of them. I have a picture somewhere anyway. That was they have a gigantic multi-story car parks, and that was full. And people trying to get in were causing a traffic jam, like for it wasn't quite half a k along the main road, maybe about half a k along the main road. And I went down to get petrol, gasoline, as you Americans call it, and just the opposite was the hardware store. I was like looking at that and like, no, that's just insane. There's just completely stripped out of power generators, everything. Because they said it was going to be category 5.
Yeah. What is it now? Do you know?
2. 2 is like, that's just
dropped
normal.
that much? Wow.
Yeah, it's turned up as 2 on windy.com. And I think it's hitting like Okinawa like 3, and then it's coming down to about 2 here or something. So
that's good news.
That's just normal. Yeah. That's just like, tomorrow it's going to be very windy. We just pulled everything out of the garden. Because going to the neighbors and having them hand back your stuff is kind of embarrassing.
I believe
we have this sunroom sticking out. We built this sunroom on the side of our house, and the sunroom, it has a gap underneath, and we had this garbage container we use for garbage on one side, and I thought, no, it's going to sit there fine. We'll just put a few bags in it, and then a few typhoons ago, it came out after a few hours after it had passed. It's like, oh, where's the garbage bin gone? And the neighbor came out and said, oh, is this yours? It's like, oh, whoops, sorry. But,
how long did it take you to get normalized to it? Like, you know how Japanese people are familiar with earthquakes. So did you have to get used to typhoons, or it's just like one and nothing much, or did it take years?
Oh, the first one, I was living in one of those dunchies, which is, the cheap housing, low-income housing, which was fine. It was on the 5th floor, though, which meant our place was roasting hot in summer. But how Japanese don't like insulating their buildings. Well,
Hokkaido's a different story, man. We're insulated here.
No choice.
Most places. My dorm wasn't. It was a little cold.
So we were on the 5th floor, and we got a category 2. And that was 160 kilometer an hour winds, and that was shaking the concrete building. It was shaking. That was like, okay, that's pretty harsh. And so it's kind of after the first one to go there. And the subsequent ones were in another apartment building, so we didn't care. This is the first few in a house. So last year we had a couple pass by. And that's where it's like, okay, it's not just, we're going to make sure everything's secure on the balcony. It's like, okay, we're going to make everything secure around the house. And like a friend of mine, when I was back in the dunchi, he was this guy. He had a carport, so they have these aluminium carports, and they go up, and they have the, kind of cover thing. And we have ones which are secure. They have poles we put in. So we got poles put in now, which you just take out when it's not. We put in when it's windy, and then take it when it's not. And then he said that the typhoon came. I think it was the same one I mentioned, where it was in the dunchi. And then he said the next morning he went out and his carport was gone. This is an aluminium carport built into concrete in the ground. It was gone.
Oh,
It wasn't like, oh, it was down the street or in the neighbor's yard. It was like gone. It was like he had no idea where it had gone.
Did they bring it back like a few years later, or?
No. Like it never returned. It, like where it ended up, he doesn't even know.
Wow. Wow.
Whoa.
Wow.
That was.
You got it rough.
Impressive.
Yeah, you guys got it rough in Kyushu, man.
It actually usually what happens is you see on the maps, you see the says the typhoon's going to come up, then it's going to bend around and go straight across Fukuoka, and it never does. It bends up and it goes straight across Kumamoto. Kumamoto gets hammered. They get like 100 millimeter an hour rain or whatever it is, 20. How many inches is it? I don't know how many inches. You know, the hardcore rain. Everything happens to Kumamoto, and they're like the typhoon coming, and we get like, oh, it gets a bit windy, and that's it. So to actually have a really strong typhoon with strong wind is actually rare here. It's very rare.
Yeah,
no wonder there was one passed between the Korean Strait before, and that was like really windy, and that was the last severe one. There was one last year too.
Oh, maybe that's why all those people moved from Kumamoto to Hawaii 100 years ago. They get tired of the wind over there, wind and rain.
I've got video somewhere. I'd have to find the video. I've got a video somewhere of the typhoon. Somewhere in here. That looks like it might be typhoon video. Yeah, there we go. Hold on, let me check up the screen. Let me press the magic button again and see if I can do a screen share.
Bro, I need one of those.
And the window goes flying over to the other monitor. So hold on. Here we go. This should work. And then if I hit this.
Nice.
So I don't know if the sound comes through this or not.
Did I know?
But you see the trees in the distance are bending. Do you get the sound?
No sound.
No, we don't.
No sound. I don't know. Okay, maybe it doesn't pass through sound. But you can see it gets pretty harsh.
Yeah.
That's what I'm expecting tomorrow morning.
Oh wow, really? Nothing like that in Hokkaido, man.
I mean, like, you know, by the time it gets to Hokkaido, everything's dead. Honshu is pretty much our shield.
Yeah. I think we had like one or two harsh ones, but they usually pass over enough land or pass near enough land to slow down.
This isn't your video, right? Or is this like a friend's one?
This is out my window from
this is your video.
Year. Yes, this is my video from last year at my window.
Is this your house?
Yep.
You got a
park.
Nice, yeah. Can you barbecue there?
Oh, yeah, we could. Yeah, the neighbors have barbecued and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I mean, we have a garden as well. I just deliberately chose a house next to the park, so the kids are like, right, go out and play, and also we don't get traffic.
Nice. So actually, I wanted to ask you. So so you have a YouTube channel and you do reviews of high-end equipment. How did you get into the equipment field, and what's the name of your channel and your website?
Oh, so that story, well, when I was way back in the early 90s, so my father had a nice hi-fi system, and we went to buy new speakers for him, I think. This is, early 90s. And then I said, well, if you're going to get nice speakers, can I get nice headphones? And I got nice headphones, these German headphones, which were, I think, about 200 Australian or something like that, which would have been, I don't know what now, $500-600 or something.
Wow.
Which was like, but that was super rare. I mean, there was no hobby or anything. And then I had these same headphones. I probably still have them, actually. I had these same headphones for like 15 or so years, which, must have been about 15 years, to about 2007. And the pads, the foam dies, so they go flat. And it's like, maybe I should look at a new one. So you go walk into Big Camera or whatever, or you go to Actually Camera, and there's like wall-to-wall headphones in some sections. Like, what do I get? So I went onto Headfi, which is the huge headphone forum, and started getting into that because I needed headphones because my wife wanted to watch TV. I wanted to listen to music, and that just doesn't work when you're in an apartment. And we were living before that in a studio apartment in Sydney, which is, like one room with everything. And weirdly, when we moved into because we were living with our parents after that, and then when we first moved in, and then I remember we moved into the actually having an apartment with more than one room. It was really weird. We still slept in just one room, and you only used one room for everything, which is really weird. It was just out of years of habit. So I was trying to get better headphones. So that's where I got into the hobby, and I took an interest. And my parents have a science background, so I kind of was looking into it. And, over different perspectives and experience with hi-fi. And I got fairly involved in that for a long while. And eventually, they made me a forum moderator and a forum admin. And
Wow.
at some point along that, I just started the YouTube thing, because the guy who was doing it just started the YouTube, and he said, "You should try this," and so I did. And I didn't do it, mate. I should have. If I'd made a big deal of it back then, it would have been much further along now. But
yeah.
I was forum staff, so it's like a manufacturer. You go to a manufacturer and said, "Can I borrow a pair of these headphones, or can I borrow this gear or whatever?" And it's like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." Or here, just hold on to it for as long as you need them. So you just half of that is just manufacturers lend stuff to me, because if you put it in the background of the videos, it's like free advertising for them.
Yeah. Nice.
So that's why the crazy. I mean, if we talk about in-ear monitors, and I have to do this without causing chaos.
So all those are like, what is that, sponsored? They just send it to you?
Some are owned. Like the stuff I use, I own. Like some of the gear is owned because I wanted to buy it for my own purpose. The stuff I don't use, most of it is not owned. This is just in-ear monitors.
What is this madness? What is this madness here? Can you explain it for people who don't understand shit? Wait. Before you understand, can we compile? We missed it earlier. This is very important to me. Besides your madness.
Yes, we did a compile.
Yeah, we did the compile. Yeah.
I have randomly mixed alcohol and other things in here. You don't want to know what's in here.
What the hell is that? You're just full of
It's a glass
surprises.
with a random mix of all the alcohol in my cabinet because I'm hopeless. So,
oh my god,
whatever works, right?
Whatever works. We'll see what happens. How it tastes.
Comply, man.
All right.
I love this. I'm so surprised before we even started like drinking and shit.
Well, that was interesting.
All right.
Discuss what's in that.
It'll get you drunk. That's all that matters. It's all that matters, right?
It will. Now, please
I made my own
explain that
cocktail.
Madness.
I explained the madness. I'm going to explain
Yeah.
cocktail. Previously, I made my own cocktail, which nobody else seems to have done, but that's another story.
They're both
Talk about
cocktails.
alcohol another different time. Oh, this is just a cable because I pulled it off some in-ear monitors. But anyway, what is this madness? So it's a large bunch. You see, I had a whole lot of stuff for review. For example, where do we begin? So, for example, there's no cable in these ones. So these are in-ear monitors. So they're kind of expensive ones. They cost $1,400 or something like that.
Oh.
And the sound quality is really good. I mean, if you play live music, this particular pair is really awesome with live music recordings.
Does that like mold to ears? Like,
this isn't
if
molded.
A professional was to use it, would they mold it?
Well, a professional one, I actually have a professional set here, which is molded from Ultimate Ears, and they do Ultimate Ears does a lot.
Those guys are great.
Yeah, the guys who do like a lot of the pro musicians. There's a few companies that do it, like Westone, Ultimate Ears, Jerry Harvey Audio, who used to own Ultimate Ears, which is another long story. Jerry Harvey, the guy who actually started this whole trend of doing custom in-ear monitors with Van Halen. So
wow.
Jerry Harvey is this really cool guy. He fits right into Van Halen, but he's actually a geek. It's really interesting how many real hidden geeks there are in the hobby. These chill dudes or tattooed dudes who are actually really geekish. So we have stuff from many countries like America. We have this guy in Portland who makes some of these things like the ones that I showed you. And he's a really cool guy, really, really chill guy. And he makes these amazing in-ear monitors. And we have even Chinese stuff here. We have kind of FIO or FIO. I don't know. You ever get the name right.
How are the Chinese ones? Do they
The Chinese
compare?
there are a few brands which are pretty good. We have some Japanese ones which have got this shiny, like high-end watch metal kind of style. They're called from a company called Final, and they're about $2,000 a pair.
Wait,
sound amazing.
How much is the cushion of madness? I don't know how to explain that, but this cushion of
audiophile.
The problem is I ran out of. This is actually this cushion was actually in a hard drive. Was shipped. It actually has a rectangular hole in the bottom, which where you put a hard drive. And it was actually for shipping a hard drive, and I didn't have anywhere to put all this stuff simultaneously. And I have a bazillion headphone hangers and things, but it was getting out of hand. So I just realized this is the most obvious answer without having them banging together all the time.
Yeah.
So how much is it all
genius.
Worth? More than my car. That's all I'll say.
What are you driving? A Prius? Is that a Prius?
I switched to Subaru.
A Subaru.
I just bought a secondhand Subaru, actually. It was kind of my dream. I wanted a Subaru again.
The
So
WRX.
I actually drove a Prius for 9 years until I wouldn't say it died. It didn't need suspension work, but I put a lot of Ks on it for work.
Damn.
It was good if you're driving far because it uses stuff or petrol. Subaru is a beast, but it has gas mileage from hell.
Yeah.
No, yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here, and so the manufacturers send it over, and some stuff is on loan, and some stuff they just send it and they never ask for it back, which is sort of, I wouldn't say it's good or bad. It's just a pain keeping track of it.
Yeah. So what things do you review in all? You review in-ear monitors. What else do you review?
Headphones, portable players, which I just loaded a video of a portable player. Is that still switched on? Yeah, it is. Let's see if I can lift it up. So you have high-end portable players. So the high-end portable players, this is just one I just reviewed actually, and it still isn't powered off from after the shot the review. These things, so they're Android based, so they're like a phone, but instead of having phone features because they don't have any phone connectivity, they have wireless obviously, so you can use anything if you use Wi-Fi. And they have a micro SD card slot or two, so you can put on up to, I think it's up to about 1 terabyte of data, although they have 64 gigabytes inside. And they just have a really high end electronics in there, like a miniaturized high end stereo and really good, much better. So if you have a phone, it has and if it does have a headphone socket, the quality of the headphone socket, it only has very minimal power. The sound quality might be okay, but maybe not amazing because they all just use a single chip, usually a single combined chip for everything. These use like a whole amplification circuit. Actually, this one's really cool because it has different modules you can plug into it with a different digital converter and different amplifying circuit. So with different features and things. So some might have more power, so you plug in full-sized headphones. It sounds really good. Some might have less power output, so you get longer battery life and they all have a slightly different sound, and the people who become obsessed about these things obsess about these things. So,
do you think they're user friendly for someone who wouldn't?
Oh yeah, I mean it's like a normal
just plug and play.
Yeah, I mean they have normal music players on them, so that's just I don't know if you can see that. It just has a usual kind of.
Oh, that's a music player.
App. Yeah,
it's like a iPod on steroids without the killing.
Basically.
Yeah, it's a high grade MP3 player or wave player or something, right?
Damn.
Yeah, everyone says FLAC because it's the usual common format, which is just compressed wave. But
I've seen that before. Downloading stuff.
This one's from a company. I think was it Hong Kong? Cayenne. I think they're from Hong Kong. I always get Hong Kong and China mixed up from who's from where, but it's all right. So that's a really. It's heavy. It's like 300. Was it 290 grams or 290 grams. It's heavy. So it's got. You can see it's compared to a phone. It's really chunky.
Yeah. Damn.
So I have a couple more floating around. Oh, there are tiny ones too, if I can find the little tiny one. There's a little. You remember the little iPod Nano type things? There's someone like a iPod Nano-ish type style too. This one's in.
It's like a futuristic Tamagotchi.
Yeah.
Matt,
so I've got a whole drawer full of these things. So
do you have
tiny ones up to big ones?
Like a favorite one? Like what's one of your favorite pieces of equipment that you want to share with us? Like something you hold dear or
piece of equipment.
Well, I would say more like what equipment do you recommend or of all the things that you have, what things do you use more regularly than others, I would say.
Well, I sit here, so I do work here, and if I'm doing work here, I listen to music. So I might have a pair of, expensive headphones, and these are retail $4,000. I, of course, bought them secondhand.
Yep.
They're made by Focal. If you've heard of Focal, the French, they use beryllium drivers, the same kind of driver that they have on their top-end speakers, and they're called the Utopias, same as the top-end speakers. So the little kind of tweeter. For the high frequency sound, based on that technology, they made headphone drivers out of beryllium, pure beryllium, not coated. So, and they have carbon fiber yokes, and full on high end.
Oh wow!
That's kind of the thing I listen to. I have a few different things. Oh, here's a cool one. Which, if you see, there's a video I did called "Non-Audiophiles Listen to High-End Headphones," and this is one of them. Is from Romania and Ukraine, combined technology from those two countries. They're called the Meze Imperians. And this guy called Anthony Meze is this amazing guy from Romania, and who just does this really kick-ass design.
Wow.
That looks
And
cool.
they really do look the part. They're $3,000.
Is it comfortable, like on your ears, if you use it for a long period of time?
Some of the high-end ones, like the manufacturer might be really good at making it sound good, but the comfort might be maybe a bit great. These ones are super comfortable. I mean, you can see the cushions on these things.
Yeah, that thing looks fat, man.
Yeah, I would just wear that without listening to music down the street. That's how those look nice. Yeah, I would just walk with them on my head.
AirPods. Yeah. Put them over the AirPods, they do look like an alien though. So you don't take them out in the bus. So that's, I think a lot of it is...
Yeah.
No. The strange thing is some people do take these headphones out and about, on the bus and stuff like that. It's like, what? If you want to go, if you're going out on the bus, you would take a pair of just noise cancelling headphones. So yeah.
Wait, does that noise cancel or?
No. They're just regular. They plug them into something. Noise cancelling headphones. You got your good old Sony. The good old Sony WM1000 XM4. What are they Asian people obsessed with numbers? They should have just called them
math, man. Come on, Asian people. Did you just say Asian people numbers?
No. This is math. I
know it's true, math.
China and numbers. Okay, but Japan's like it. It's true. It's absolutely true. China is, all the websites which are all number based, but Japan has that too a bit too much. Here are the Sonys, and I've got heaps of noise cancelling and gaming headphones and some other stuff too. So,
what's a reasonable gaming headphone do you recommend? Like something not $4,000. But I couldn't even say that without shaking my voice. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, let's see your wife save $4,000 for that, dude.
These are really cool. These are by one of the companies that they started off from nothing pretty much, and called Odyssey. And they make the Odyssey Mobius and their wireless gaming headphones. They actually have a new one out. These are Bluetooth, wireless, or wired. You can plug them by USB. And so you can actually do surround sound. They actually will do 8.1. And they have a 3D tracking. So if you put them on your head and you hit the center button, as soon as you move your head, the stereo image will stay. Even you look up and down, it will stay centered.
Oh, and, you said 3D tracking?
Yeah, so like say you're playing a game, right?
Yeah.
So you're playing a game, and then the game screen's in front of you. If you move your head, the stereo image will stay there.
So I'm curious.
Like it's coming from there.
Are you following the PS5? Because I think the audio thing for the PS5 is supposed to be one of the biggest draws to it. And I think they mentioned that, but I didn't really know what they were talking about.
I haven't been following it. Yeah, I haven't read much about the PS5.
So
these
it
ones,
is.
This company,
this is what they're talking about, though, the 3D tracking.
3D tracking has been around for a while, but not in something this small in general.
See.
So these are have all the circuitry inside. They just actually did another, this was done on a Kickstarter or Indiegogo, I can't remember, crowdfunding campaign, but they're just doing a pre-order one now where they actually have a new model, and they're about $300 and something. And they actually have a proper wireless dongle, so you have almost zero latency connection direct to the computer. So you have your cordless phone. I think it's 5 gigahertz or something. I don't remember. 2.4 gigahertz, like your cordless phones, but it's almost zero latency or almost zero latency wireless. So they have a new version, and they're going to be fairly inexpensive, but the sound quality is pretty good for music. But I use them. It's like even with all this gear here, if I'm just going to watch YouTube, I'll just use using these mainly before I was using the AirPods Pro. So the AirPods Pro, of course, are convenient because you can have the sound. Like if someone walks into the room, you can hear them come into the room and speak to you still, even while you're listening, which doesn't block it. Whereas if you have very closed headphones, you don't. So I think usage case is a big one. So, I mean, these headphones may be expensive, but they're limited to me sitting here using high-end gear, and, there's limitations to it. But, if you're listening for hours and hours and hours, it's worth money maybe for a good setup. But, for a lot of people, this would, if you're just at home doing gaming, whatever, these are kick-ass. And for a lot of people, just for regular out and about noise cancelling if I'm going on a plane, I'm not going to take all the expensive IMs. I'll just take a pair of these. Because having most of that airplane noise they're kind of switched off through a pair of these is way better than trying to jack the volume up with a pair of in-ear monitors by far. So, or the cheap method is to get the high-end in-ear monitors, put them in, then you put the noise-canceling headphones over them to shut out some of the sound.
Ah.
But that's just being stupidly obsessive.
What is that?
I've tried it though.
Is it like it's about a Hachiman? How much does it take to do that?
Yeah, well, a lot. Yeah, a lot. Just go for the noise cancelling headphones. Actually, they're pretty. Some of the models are pretty good these days. I've got stuff floating around which is like about $160, which I've got a review from Fio, that Chinese company I mentioned before, who make it. Actually, they make portable players and everything. They just made a lot of noise cancelling. Here's the thing: a lot of the noise cancelling headphones are actually from the same original equipment manufacturer. So the companies who want to make noise cancelling headphones will go to the manufacturer and say, "We want to make our own unique pair," and they will take their technology and then they'll design it to their specifications, the brand name on it. Yeah, but they're all pretty much the same, except Sony. Sony have their own tech. Sony are unique. So here's like our Fio player, which looks like another one of those. So that's makes those.
That's called a Fio player.
Fio is a brand in China. We make these. You can see the funky brand come up there. They got into the Fio, yeah. They make in-ear monitors now, and they make noise-canceling headphones. And they were famous for players, like these portable players. And back when they started, they were kind of the software was really crap. And now the software is actually pretty good. So they're using Android, so you can install other players and stuff on it too, or install, Spotify, whatever you want to listen with. So they're pretty cool.
Yeah,
so that's just a fancy one.
Yeah, man, nice.
It's a fun hobby, but I have to buy like tons of chargers. I have a drawer with this.
This is a hobby.
Rack
this is a hobby. Did you say hobby?
Well, now it's turning into a job.
I mean, you're over here flashing around like, bro, this is the $2,000. Damn, it's pretty nuts.
Yeah, you go like, oh crap, this is all worth more than my car, just what's sitting on my desk, and it's like, yeah, this is nuts.
Yeah, it is definitely worth more than a Prius.
I remember when I went to Kyushu and I visited Amos's house, and he played me. I don't remember exactly what headphones through a certain amp, and I think we were playing jazz or something, and I literally he turned on the music. And it felt like I was in the middle of a jazz combo. Like it felt like I was there. I was at a concert. It felt live, man. It was kind of surreal. It was unbelievable. That was the best. It was the best audio I've ever heard, like with headphones, man. It was
I don't know if you guys said it earlier, but how did you guys meet? Was it Aikido? I know you guys said you guys were into Aikido, but did you guys meet through Aikido, or what's the story behind that?
I think we met on we're part of a group of people that do internal martial arts. So we're part of a forum on Facebook.
Oh, you guys met through a forum?
Yeah. So
nice.
We actually trained with this guy, Dan Harden, who's a amazing martial artist. And I think I was looking for people living in Japan, I think. And I was trying to see if anybody in the forum was living in Japan. I think Scott.
Scott is the other one, because I met Scott first, which is how I found out about it. And there's a guy called Aaron, who's in Nagoya or somewhere. So there's a few.
Oh yeah.
Oh. So you guys are all pretty spread out.
Yeah.
I went to Hawaii. Like I've only been to these seminars in Hawaii. So and then we're talking to Jamie came down and met my Aikido instructor, who was one of the students of the founder of Aikido. And brought all these photos showing all this stuff about Hawaii and whatever. Because my instructor sometimes goes to Hawaii, like once a year usually, because he's invited for seminars there. Yeah. And so there's a bit of a connection there. So it's kind of ironic that I actually don't go to my instructor's seminars in Hawaii. I actually went to different persons' seminars in Hawaii to learn about stuff. So it's pretty cool, because that's modern kind of martial arts. It's like, like if someone who's I can swim, for example, and then you get people who like swimming a lot and they're very good swimmers. And then there are levels up to professional and Olympic level swimmers. And it's like, I remember I used to play badminton a lot when I met my wife. We met and we played badminton a heap during the summer when the university was off and we could use the courts. And then one day we went in, and actually at the same time we were playing badminton, the Olympic guys were playing in the next hall. And we went over and watched them. We were like, oh my God, that is just, we were just like, how can you do that so fast? We were like, oh my God, it's like that. So the level of like Aikido normally now, and I wouldn't say a lot of martial arts, it varies. Like regular Aikido is kind of like what we were doing in our badminton. And then this guy, Dan Harden, is like those Olympic guys. And it's like, afterwards you're like, okay, you just changed my perspective of everything.
Yeah. To close your mind.
Yeah. And I went to into his seminars and it's it was great. It was a great experience. But wow, this is what happens when you really, really super hardcore, and not only just hardcore in what you do, but search out to be, when you meet someone who's top at amazingly high level at something, it's just like, wow, it's just another level.
Yeah. Bro, that was just like my reaction when I first opened, or when I first let you into the room. I was like, what the fuck?
That's not from hard effort, though. That's just pure accumulation.
No. It is hard effort. I'm sure, bro, I guarantee you there was some hard effort, because to grow a channel on YouTube, like, bro, YouTube people are they're mean. Especially if you don't know what you're doing. Like, if they gravitate toward you, you're doing something right.
Armchair experts, right? So armchair experts like to pick on people that,
You are doing something. Bruh, if armchair experts is a thing, like 90% of YouTube's armchair experts.
Probably.
You have to kind of have comments moderated by default, not like moderated as in you have to approve every one, but they have now systems in place that can detect like aggressive language and will auto-moderate.
Oh, no. I welcome that for us, though. Yeah. But I'm saying, like, you have got something going on there, because, bro, your background. Sup-Sapporo Dosanko life. All right, let's go.
Same beer.
I had this guy waiting in the back.
Of alcohol.
Yeah, alcohol.
Do you know what this is?
Looks like Kool-Aid.
If you look in the back there, I have a bottle of absinthe. So,
okay, cool.
Kampai. Yeah. So my question was, so what's the name of your channel and how many subscribers do you have?
All right, let's go.
So, on my channel, it's called Currawong, so Currawong. And the story behind that, actually, when I first got on the internet, there was only text chat. I needed a name to use, so I just picked the name of an Australian bird. So we had like these various birds that are unique to Australia, and one of them was called a Currawong, and I thought that sounds all right. And it confused everyone as everyone goes like, "Are you Chinese?" It's like,
Are you good at math?
You don't look like you're Chinese. What part of China are you from?
Yeah, that's the really funny thing was being on chat and then forums, and then you get on YouTube and they're like, "Wait, you're not Chinese?" It's like, "No, I'm Australian." What can you do?
I like it.
Yeah. So I have about 20,000 subscribers, which I'm pretty happy about. I didn't push it like really hard, but some of that was helped by the fact that I could semi-promoted by the fact that I was already well known on forums. So,
damn.
Yeah. And some popular videos, including my last one about the non-audiophiles one is actually my most popular video with 140,000 views or something. I forget.
Wow.
Which was like, nice. What the heck? My most popular video before that was a video which had been around for like a decade. I don't remember when I shot it, of a Japanese train driver. And then other than that, there's a video of like a very popular portable player, actually one very like the one I just showed before, which was very, very, very well known. And so I got a lot of views for my review of it.
Man. So 20,000, that's crazy.
It's nice. I mean, there are people with way more than I do. There's a guy, another Australian called Darko, and he's so famous that in some audio software, his name is actually in the software. And he started up YouTube actually way more recently than I did. And because he already had an extremely well-known website, he gets like 100,000 views on all heaps of his videos. You know, you get that 40, 50,000 views easily on just a video.
Wow.
And just anything he does gets heaps and heaps of views. And he's very professional about it. He actually used to be a teacher as well, moved to Europe and I think it's Germany. I think he's in Berlin. I could be wrong. I get everything mixed up in terms of countries and where people are. And he has this beautiful apartment which looks ridiculously neat. And he has actually someone help him shoot his videos.
Oh, nice.
And he does the really cool stuff. He doesn't do like normal reviewers do. He does something more personal and interesting. And he doesn't just listen to audiophile music. He listens to like pop and rock that he likes and stuff like that. It's a very different kind of style. He's a pretty cool guy. So,
have you met him?
Yeah. Actually, I met him because there are these shows in Tokyo where there were until the Corona apocalypse came along. And
China, God damn it!
Corona apocalypse. It's one word.
Okay.
Courtesy of an IT friend in Australia. Anyway, so there are these shows where we'd had actually 5 floors of headphones-related stuff in the Nakano-san Plaza in Tokyo, which is this huge, strange obelisk building.
And, is that the Die Hard building?
No,
that's Nakatomi.
Oh, all right, wrong Japanese.
Nakatomi was filmed on some other place, but no. It's this place where this is so cool. Okay, so it's a place that's one of those buildings where most of it rents out rooms, individual rooms up to whole floors, and actually it's usually used as a wedding venue. So some of the rooms where they have displays are designed for wedding parties, like big wedding parties. So where they have this mood lighting, and it's so terrible for this kind of event. Some of these places. And the really cool thing is they have product presentations in the chapel. So they have, you know how Japanese weddings, you get married privately in the ceremony, and then you have this
fake
wedding
chapel
party in the chapel, in the fake chapel.
Yeah.
They have, so you sit there, the press sits in the rows, and then, or people who want to see it, and then these ladies come in holding these headphones or modeling these headphones or some product they're holding down the aisle. It's so bad. It's as bad as this sounds.
What the fuck?
Dun, dun,
I've got
dun,
video
dun.
of it somewhere. I should find pictures of it somewhere. Yeah. And these 2 beautiful girls, either the same ones, holding the product or modeling the headphones, whatever it is, and walk down the aisle. And so the company does a presentation in Japanese. I don't go to them anymore. It's pretty funny. It's pretty cheesy, and yeah.
So I have some good technical questions for you. So in the back, I see you have a nice looking tube amplifier. Has solid state kind of caught up with tubes as far as like the audiophile kind of equipment? That has a technology caught up with it? Has it surpassed it, or is it still kind of I think behind, I guess, for audio?
I think so. It's there's a mix of answers here.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make a solid state amp sound like a tube amp. There's a guy I know who just make solid. Actually, no, he's made some tube gear recently, but does solid state. And I said, why don't you make tube amps? And he goes, well, I can make you an amp that sounds just like a tube amp if you want. Because all it is, actually, if you have a standard, if you design something properly, whether it's got tubes or solid state, it'll sound pretty much identical. What a lot of companies do is they induce even order harmonic distortion. And that is like harmonic distortion that is pleasant. Even order means like if you have a 1 kilohertz tone, you play it through the device, you'll see 2 kilohertz, 4 kilohertz, 6 kilohertz, or 2, 4, 8, 16, even order distortion. That for us is really pleasant to listen to. And they'll make the music sound a little bit more mellow and easy to listen to. And that can be very, very nice to listen to. But you don't have to do that in tube amp. I mean, I've got tube amps here which don't sound like tube amps. They don't have that, what's called a tube sound. Actually, classic tube amps are a little bit bright and a little bit bassy sounding, and that's the way the circuit's designed. But you can do that with electronics. I mean, there's no way you can't. But so there is a bit of, I mean, tubes themselves, there are like, when transistors came out, there were millions and millions of warehouses full of these old tubes. And so there's still, you can buy tubes that have been made in the 1950s, 40s, 50s, 60s, which have never been used.
Yeah.
Still, that's
Some
how many
dollars.
there were.
Yeah.
And there are guys that just bought up masses and masses of these things. And now there are companies like various Chinese and Russian companies that still make reissue tubes, which are basically the same design but remade, new tubes. So I suppose that's it's like any hobby, you know, the enthusiasm for it. I mean, there are people who say, "Oh, you should just do these perfect solid state designs. All you need, and you don't need anything expensive or whatever." And then there are the fun things like this, and you get to play around. You know, buy a bunch of tubes, and you experiment and you fine tune, and you get these. Sometimes you hit upon a combination which is just like, "Oh, listening with this is so much fun." Actually, I think I've got it switched on now for listening. Actually, so I was going to listen before, but I didn't get around to it. You can just get to hit these combinations of just really nice to listen with. So
are they
kind of, that's
Oh, sorry. Are they like uniquely designed? Like, even though they're the same model, do you go through like different types to listen? Like maybe one might sound better than the other, or are they pretty much the same thing?
Yeah. Some tubes were designed specifically for audio, but you know the variation in how they sound is what makes it interesting.
Within the same set. Like say like I don't know, like tube A, but maybe like tube A-1, tube A-2, they'd be like different sounding, or are they pretty much the same?
Different brands, different styles of tube. Like there are tubes, they all sound slightly different. So
even though they're the same model.
Example. Yeah. There will be. I'm just going to think of an example here.
I see.
For example, I don't know if there's something I can reach. I don't have the tube box yet. The box of tubes. This is not a lot of tubes. This is not a lot.
Not a lot.
It's not a lot. So let's pick something out. So this is Sylvania. If you ever used a light bulb, you'll know who Sylvania is.
Yeah.
Now, General Electric, Sylvania, they all use the same kind of... This is the most common audio tube in existence called the 6SN7. 6 being 6-volt heater. And the rest of the designation is, well, that's just one of those things. This is a reissue 6SN7 by Tungsol in Russia. Yes, it does sound slightly different to this Sylvania tube here. I don't remember how much different. I haven't compared them. This has, well, if I was to describe the sound, it's a little bit, maybe a touch mellow, but very clear. So there's no harshness at all in the sound. If I can find what I have floating around in here. Do I have another 6SN7? This is a kind of common one, General Electric. There we go. Your good old General Electric standard kind of tube.
So if you had two of these, would you like pick between the two, or are they generally the same?
Oh, yeah, you might just put one in, try it, and then switch the other and see what you like better. And then maybe you switch equipment and you might switch them around.
Yeah.
Because
tubes are temperamental too. I mean, you can take like for guitar players, you take like two tube amplifiers. They're made exactly the same way, and they'll sound completely different. And you switch the tubes could, affect the way it sounds, even though they're the same.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's pretty much like instruments, then, like same instruments, same model. Yeah. There's different sound, but it snowballs. Yeah. It's interesting because it snowballs. Like this is like a part, but how many parts make the thing?
Exactly.
So you have to, that's so crazy.
It's finding the right combination of things that kind of makes that magic, right? So there's a right combination of like circuits and capacitors and tubes that make that special thing. That's why you may hear something that sounds wonderful, right? And then you play something else that's the exact same model, but it sounds completely different.
Yeah,
there's all these subtleties in here. Yeah. So this one's got 3 tubes, for example, for power. So normally a rectification circuit that takes AC to DC is done. AC to DC conversion is now done by, you use 4 resistors, or you can buy like this little things that you can solder in. But this old style tube rectification is done with a tube.
Yeah.
And if someone just happens to have these weird, interesting gas tubes as well for power. Now these are amplification. This is a 2-channel. This is actually one of these tubes with a different kind of tube with an adapter, but these are 2-channel tubes, and this is used for a gain stage, and this is your output. Now these are kind of warm, mellow tubes, so often balanced against it with this Russian tube, which is a Russian version of the one I showed you before, which has a very kind of clear sound, rather than the kind of mellowy, tubey sound you get out of other ones. And I don't know why this is. I don't know if anyone's done any scientific analysis of why, but it just... And you play around with it, and you get the combination that you really like, and you stick with it. Or play around some more, and and it's complex because there are different models of tubes, and there are some that have, like, some of these are compatible here. These are only compatible with the same type as of these. And there are multiple types of that power tube. It's all very complex. And then you're into, the matching them and
matching sets crazy. And stuff.
Yeah, complex Legos.
It's a completely different. It's a completely different field. You can go to tubes and circuits and capacitors and voltage, and it's crazy.
Probably the wires even matter now. I don't
know. Wires do matter. Yeah, they totally matter.
I just found out. Did you know they have Cat 7 wires? I don't know if you know that, but the internet
category
wire...
7, that's for because now you have people doing, for example, let's say I have a computer and I have a disk array. I might have a disk array for storing video or doing 16-channel audio or 32-channel audio, or I might have this. The latest computers, you can render simultaneous 4K, multiple 4K streams or whatever. You might be doing 4K work or 8K work now. So you can't just, to plug in, you use special arrays which send huge amounts of data between the computer and the array. So you can actually manage all this video, like dozens of SSD cards, and you have this box which is just full of SSD, not even drive, NVMe drives and all connected together, so you get an insane throughput. And that's why you have USB-C, because USB-C can have, you have Thunderbolt and all that. We can have extremely high speed connections through one connector.
Is that the future, you think? USB-C?
Oh, it is. I mean, it is now. There's no question about it. There's a sort of a lot of legacy stuff, but USB-C can incorporate It can connect all the drive arrays, networking, into displays, 8K displays or whatever it is, which cost huge amounts of money, and all that stuff can be connected through one connector now because the electronics have all caught up.
Oh, I have a good question for you. So actually 2 questions. So the first question is, what's the most expensive piece of gear that you've tested? Was it worth it? And then the second question would be, what equipment would you say would be worth the money that you pay for, as far as your opinion wise? What do you think is like some equipment or a couple pieces of equipment that may be definitely worth the money that you put into it?
Tested, it depends if you count the stuff I've had here and stuff I haven't had. Stuff I've tested, like I've gone to been to the manufacturer's office and listened to. Of the stuff I've had here, there was one device from Chord Electronics in UK called the Dave. And it's kind of hard to explain what it is. It's a digital to analog converter, and you can plug headphones into it. And you plug it into your computer, and it plays back music. The thing is, the aim of the guy who designed it was to completely reconstruct the analog signal from the original digital. Now, you think, a lot of stuff can do that. Well, no, actually, it can't. Digital is still limited. Very, very limited in purely, completely reproducing even the quality of audio from CDs. So he designed this thing which actually technically can. And the idea was to reproduce as accurately as possible the experience of experiencing live music. Now, if you go to see a performer, and there's a good stereophile article on this, you go and see a performer and you feel this, say a singer, say a female singer, really good, and you feel it, right? You know the difference between a live performance, and you listen back on the CD or whatever, and it's like, well, okay, that's still that brilliance there, and you remember it, but it doesn't have that feeling. And I remember Stereophile tested this with the top of the line Japanese Esoteric, TX Esoteric brand, their full digital stack. This is a few years ago, so it's out of date now. And they had this guy play this music, which they recorded direct, and then they played back exactly his recording through the top of the line stack, and they said, no, there's still something missing. Now, so this guy reproduced, this guy that made the designed the chord Dave, he wanted to. The problem with the issues with digital are really complex, but he can reproduce the exact sense of depth. Wow. So when you listen to speakers, you can hear, the piano was really out there. Whereas a lot of modern digital gear kind of shoves everything forward in your face. It doesn't reproduce it accurately. And there's a lot of argument about this and discussion, which I won't get into. But anyway, when I plugged headphones into this chord Dave, and listened to the better recordings I had, the feeling was like I couldn't breathe. It was like, what the heck is going on? It was like someone had injected the music into my blood. It was like the reaction was a physical one, and I'd never had that.
What?
And he uses basically these high-speed, basically supercomputers on a chip to do custom programs to act as the converter. Instead of using like generic chips or whatever like you have, he used completely custom setup, which fixed all the issues with regular conversion. It was like being at a live performance. The feeling when you have someone there, really singing, the emotional reaction, you got that. That was just like, what the heck? Now, here's where this gets better. This is the system I did test. So a couple of companies produced $50,000 electrostatic headphone systems, with one being Sennheiser, who's very, very famous.
Yeah,
make
Sennheiser.
Microphones. Yeah, everyone knows Sennheiser. They had one called they had originally 20 or 30 years ago a system called the Orpheus, which was this huge, if you could Google it, it's this huge, amazing tube amp with these electrostatic headphones. And it was very, very famous. And people were badgering them to make a successor. So they made a new version called the HE1 with this huge marble amp. It was made from solid marble. And what would happen is you press a button to turn it on, and the knobs would come out, the tubes would rise up. You can see a video of this, I'll have it somewhere. And the lid would open and present you the headphones. And it's $50,000.
I think I've seen that video. Yeah,
you may have.
Wow.
I don't know if I've got a video of it somewhere, the Orpheus. I probably do, because I'll see if I can find it while I'm talking. So this system is, we have to go way back now. I think I did a video. I can't remember if I videoed in here or somewhere else. Maybe not. But the Orpheus system, so the sound from that is unholy good. Now, someone took the Dave DAC, I told you, and hooked that up to that system. Now, that was just way above. Okay, now, I've heard this. Imagine that suddenly you close your eyes and a band starts playing in the room you're in. Like physically feel that the band is playing, maybe not physically feel it because you don't have that thump, but you feel like someone is out there playing an instrument and another person out there and another person singing. The reality level on that was just through the roof. It was shocking, like the physical shock was it was unbelievable.
When was this? How many years ago?
Oh, wow.
A couple of years ago when they had the whole... Sometimes what happens is they have these shows called Can Jam run by the guy who runs Headfi, and he will set this system up with Sennheiser, and I think he brings his own chord Dave with him to set it up.
I like how it's called Dave. I can't get around the name of that. Is that like a marketing strategy?
No, it's called Digital Audio Veritas Extreme or something. I forget it's an anagram. It has a meaning anyway. And in extremis or something. Yeah, I can't remember. Some kind of Latin sounding thing. And I should be shot for not remembering it. I never do. But that's just like, right, that's as good as you're going to get. Okay, I've lived long enough now. I can die happily. Something kind of level.
It's apex.
That was crazy. Yeah.
So that's just the best I've experienced. Tip of the iceberg.
Wow. And the funny thing is, that's the experience I got when you played me the music on your system, man. That was unbelievable. So I can only imagine how the feeling was when you listened to that. Yeah.
So the cool thing is, when you listen to headphones, you don't get quite the same sense of, there's stuff out there. So this guy who's very famous called David Chesky, he has his own he and his brother have his own music store, high resolution music store called HD Tracks. Now they did a bunch of recordings in binaural. So binaural is where instead of just having a normal stereo microphone pair or microphones for all the instruments, they used a dummy head, and it took them a while to figure this out. So they had to actually there was actually research done on it, how to do it properly. They put with microphones where the ears are, and it's the same kind of setup they use for testing or measuring headphones to see if how they're performing. And they actually stuck the dummy head in this church, or what was a church, no longer a church, in New York, where they do these recordings and they get the 3D effect. So when you put headphones on, you get the sound stage you normally do with speakers. Now take that, now put that through the cord, play that back through the cord, Dave, through this high-end electrostat system. That's where you got your 3D, and there's instruments are all out there. That's the stuff is off the charts. And I've played, we've taken, it's really fun because a lot of people didn't know about these binaural recordings, and there have been binaural recordings done before, but maybe not at this quality. And the detail you can hear is insane. And I've taken these recordings to manufacturers, and I've said, listen with your own gear to this. And I've got pictures of manufacturers with engineers with decades of experience in pure shock at the response from this music. It's really
it's not like if you walk around with it, does it move, or is it just
no. It's like you sit there, but you get, because it's recorded with microphones where your ears would be, you get the genuine feeling of space.
It's like you're standing in the middle of it.
It's a stationary feel, but it's crazy because you can detect the sounds coming from like different angles
enveloped.
And stuff.
You're kind of enveloped, right?
It's really like you're at the concert. So if you're like a blind man and you put that on them, they would never know.
Yeah, I guess so. It does have yeah. I never thought of a blind man. Yeah, no, a blind man would probably pick up the cues better because they're more sensitive.
Yeah. Is there a test? Bro, you guys should test that with blind people. Like, honestly. That would be crazy test.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, man. Run that
blind
by
people
them.
can walk around by hearing the sound of echoes off the room. That's a really fascinating topic, how blind people can detect things around them by the sound reflections.
Yeah. Like Daredevil.
Because that would be really crazy. Like, if that fools a blind man, that's how you know you're fucking legit right there.
There was a system, I've just forgotten the name of it. The original
Dave.
3D system that someone invented. No. Not the Dave. This is before this. It'll come to me. Anyway, this guy did... before, you can get it in software now, so it's kind of redundant, but this guy made a 3D processor whereby he'd sit you down and he'd play music through speakers in a 5.1 system, I think it was, and then he would play back the digital processed version through the headphones, which had been calibrated for your ears, and you couldn't tell whether you were listening to the 5.1 system or the headphones.
Whoa.
And you can buy that system still. I can't remember what it's called though. I've gone blank on it because it's been a while. But the technology has come to that we can pretty much do that in software now.
Wow.
Do you think it's gonna escalate from now, or like you know how they always imagine that exponential curve thing? Does that apply with audio too, you think? The audio technology? 100%.
Well, before that guy who did the processing was doing it in hardware, and now you can do it in software, and now you can do it in headphones. You can fit the electronics into a pair of headphones. So yes, you have, well, I've got 3D. I mean, the new Sonys have a bit of 3D stuff chucked in there. The Mobius has a 3D, that has kind of a bit of a 3D effect. Not as good as the top stuff does. It doesn't give you full 3D effect, but it does give you a kind of a 3D image, and I leave it switched on because it's just nice to listen to stuff with it on, and it's really cool for gaming, of course, because you get a good effect.
Bro, I'm stuck with this.
That's a gamer.
Do you know what this is? This is like a $20 headset.
Okay, no, it's too cheap for me to know what it is.
Bro, that's how you know you made it.
So actually, a good thing, I guess, for maybe people listening. What equipment would you recommend as far as things definitely worth the money to pay for, and like from your professional opinion, what things would you recommend to get if they're going to spend money on?
I think the main thing, and the thing that's overlooked, is a lot of people talk about sound quality, sound quality, sound quality. It actually usability is just as important. So
Yeah.
like I was saying about these expensive headphones, you can't take them on. You're not going to take them on the bus.
Yeah.
And so it's a matter of what your needs are. If you want to go, I want to have. People say, I want to have better sound quality or better sound music audio reproduction. So let's take. Well, I really like Van Halen. But holy cow, their sound quality is terrible. I just wish they wouldn't use a 5150 studio. I hate to say it, but one of my favorite bands, I owned, the first album I owned was OU812, and it was 3 years before I understood the joke.
Yeah.
And terrible back in high school. That was on vinyl too.
Jamie, fill me in later. Fill me in.
OU812.
Yeah. Someone's going to fill me in later.
OU812.
Those are all numbers.
What is this, Chinese?
No.
Before
you'll figure it out.
Yeah, you figure it out.
All right.
Hopefully in sooner than the 3 years it took me. But holy cow, the sound quality is terrible on their albums. And so it's like I listen to Van Halen, say, in the car, because, if I'm in the car, I don't care. I have like I was talking about the Chesky binaural stuff. I have this album called Jazz and the New Harmonic. It's this really dark New York jazz, which is the best thing Chesky does is this stuff. But if you listen to it in the car, it's like, who cares? But if I listen to it on the gear behind me, it's like, this is amazing. It's like where just how hard they hit the cymbals and the echo and decay and all that and everything, the subtleties of the playback.
Crazy.
No, this is it is. It's this album which when you hear it on a really high-end system, you go, oh, you get like, that's amazing. And when you hear it in the car stereo, it's like, what is this? Next.
Do you think it translates with musicians and non-musicians, or mediocre musicians and non-musicians, or like does the gear you have depend on like your ability of music? Like would a great musician, like of course a great musician would recognize it. Like is there a balance, between someone who's like a non-musician? Like, would they actually notice this, you think? Or
that's a good point. That's another point is how much like I'm going to divert to a story which is absolutely true. A friend of mine, we used to draw for Disney back when they drew cartoons and not just computer designed them. I think she drew part of The Lion King from memory. She was chosen. She loved drawing. I remember I was a friend of hers in university, and she loved drawing. And out of 800 people, she was one of the 8 people who got into Disney who got in there. She hated the job, but it's another story because you're drawing just frame after frame after frame. But anyway, she said it completely ruined her appreciation of animation. The thing was, she could watch any Disney of that era, of the Lion King era, and tell you who drew what bits. Watch it full speed, not slowed down, full speed, and told you who drew it. Think about that for a second. Yeah. And she could see errors and flaws and bits where they drew in in a couple of frames drew in the dick into.
Wait. Yeah. I was about to bring that up.
That is that's another one I shouldn't talk about, but it's just true. Stuff, it ruined the appreciation of it.
You want me to like cut that part out? Is that okay? All right.
It's a funny. Apparently, they'd slip in stuff that was in single frames of
boners, man.
Apparently. I don't know if it was that animal, but I just remember
Disney boners.
Yeah, probably. You know how people prank stuff and they put in things that shouldn't be there.
That was a good one.
That's the thing. Humans love
things
fallacy.
You learn about the Lion King you didn't expect to learn from people in Disney. Yeah. But you know how, like, if sometimes it kind of does ruin your appreciation. So sometimes you have to kind of just go, stuff it. I'm just going to enjoy the music, because you do get oversensitized to sound. Actually, I can tell you another story about that, which is really good. And you do become like, you go, oh, I wish I had more bass, or I wish I had that. And
more cowbell.
Or sometimes like you can go, oh, I can hear that there's this slight flaw in something or other in the design or whatever. And then it's like, oh, crap. And so there is a point where, but a lot of people will listen to, let's say someone buys a cheap pair of headphones which are really bass strong and they're thump, thump, thump. And then they listen to a pair of high-end headphones which are like they're not usually so bass strong. They go, oh, these sucks, I prefer my cheap ones. And that happens a lot. So it depends on Like better sound for someone
Millennials.
might be, it might just be
That's a
more
good point.
bass. And like if you listen to rap music, you want maybe more bass, which is just someone that was talking to someone about the
I
other day.
love rap music, but I also I like all kinds of music, but I don't know. I'm just fucking well. Okay. Do you know that Duke Ellington song where he like grabs the newspaper and he starts like smashing it, and then he's just like going on the 2 and 4, I guess. I think.
I
But
don't.
oh damn! I wish I remember what song that was though. But apparently there
I'll look
was
it
like
up.
a jam session. The absent
Blah,
has
blah,
hit.
blah, blah, blah.
There's a jam session going on, and then he grabbed a newspaper and started whacking it, and then I don't know if it was Duke Ellington, but it's one of those big band times.
Yep.
But if you was to take a recording from that era where it was recorded on something very old, like would that translate to this new technology and you could have the same feeling, or
Yeah,
no?
for sure.
For sure. Bro,
I'll go
that's
to another thing which is
nuts.
stuck in my mind. Have you ever seen? Now, this is the first time I ever saw this guy or heard his music. Anderson .Paak.
I do know
Anderson
him.
.Paak,
Yeah.
No.
Okay. I only ever saw. Okay, the first time I ever saw him was on the NPR Tiny Desk concert. Now, if you've not seen the
Oh,
NPR
those
Tiny
are
Desk
cool.
concert,
Those are great.
those are freaking amazing.
Yeah, those are amazing, dude.
The most famous one is the most watched one is the Anderson .Paak one, and I'd never seen him before. And I watched this and I go, "Holy crap!" His drumming is just freaking insane. He's rapping away and he's drumming and he's twiddling. He's doing all this stuff, and you're watching and you're like, "What the heck?"
Yeah.
You know, he's like doing 16ths on the drum like it's nothing.
Mm.
Okay, we're talking seriously good. I go watch
Yeah.
the Anderson .Paak one. So I go, okay, just for fun, because I've got a Tidal subscription, which is like the
Tidal's
Spotify
great.
in a way.
Yeah.
So I thought I'll go listen to Anderson .Paak stuff. His album recordings are rubbish. And I'm thinking, they've ruined this guy.
You got me to this high, and then you just like
Yeah, and it's like, oh no, it's like Van Halen.
I thought I was gonna have my
recordings are
Rocky
totally
moment.
Rubbish. I'm like, I can't listen to this. It sounds like
that's disappointing.
crap. And and like they had a guy asking me, I listen to rap. I think it was rap music or R&B or hip hop or something. And he goes, "Oh, I want more bass. Can you tell me about more bass?" And I said, "What do you listen to?" And I listened to something or other. I can't remember what it was. And I go and listen to it on Tidal. And I was like, my God, whoever mastered this should be shot. There's no bass. The David Chesky high-end scientific research done carefully set up by master experts recording in the ex-church with all the musicians has way more bass than this hip hop.
Like how it's an
It's like,
extra.
my God.
Oh, that's
Freaking
hilarious.
hell,
Man.
if they hired David Chesky to do all the rap and hip hop, the problems would be solved. And it's like you're not going to get headphones with enough bass or enough EQ to get enough bass in these things. It's just the mastering is rubbish. And this is a big problem. So a big problem with music these days is actually just rubbish recordings.
Yeah.
They are. What do you think about what the fuck is that famous guy now? Post Malone. Have you listened to any of his stuff?
No, I'm at the kind of middle-aged, grey-haired stage where I was like, what is this stuff? Where I had to actually look up who Justin Bieber was on.
Me too. Don't feel bad. I'm at that stage myself too. I don't know.
Brad,
most of these guys.
this
guy
guy
brings up like who?
Brad, this guy knows what he's doing though, because he said on Joe Rogan's podcast, he was like, I'm good at what I do, and I sing great with auto-tune.
Oh. Auto-tune. Auto-tune is painful.
I like Cher's song with auto-tune. That's about it.
He said it jokingly and seriously at the same time, so it's really funny.
That I have to see. Joe Rogan's fantastic. Yeah,
hell yeah, I love it. I love that guy, man.
I know you were asking me about like what gear do I recommend. I say it's still very hard. I mean, still for a lot of people, I still just go, you're good noise cancelling. I mean, worth the money. Yeah, it depends if it does what you want it to do. It's going to be worth the money. If it isn't, it isn't. So that's the basic answer, and it's just so true. It's like, well, let's say, okay, so this costs what I'm holding in my hand cost you $1,300. Okay. Now, people go, why would you buy? There's a way more expensive model, which has like a vacuum tube inside and there's all bling and everything. And I reviewed that too. And people go, that's insane. And the first thing I said on the video and review said, this is not for people who live in the United States. It is for people who live in Hong Kong, where the largest space they have is about as wide as the place I'm sitting in. And that's all they have. And they can't have a speaker system. It is their hi-fi system in a single device. And they will buy high-end in-ear monitors because they have no space for anything else.
That's a good point.
And it's function. And people think that people say $1,300 for an MP3 player. It's like, no, you don't understand. Unless you live in Hong Kong, Singapore, or these kind of places, you just will not get it. And it's like it's a different cultural thing. Whereas if you live in the States, you have space.
Yes,
and you wouldn't consider that.
Yeah.
So
especially in the South.
Yeah. So if you have, would I recommend something like this? Is it going to be useful to you? I mean, this is also designed to hook up to your main system, and you can actually remote control it from a smartphone. And there's all sorts of special connections you can make, and there's other stuff I won't go into. But it's 100%. Designed specifically for people who live it's. When I did the blingy one, I said this is a Hong Kong. This is for Hong Kong people, and because made from China as well. But it's specifically for a certain class of user, or people just have more money and want to spend it on fancy.
I was just thinking about that concept today. Like, I really think people nowadays don't understand the fact of situational things. Like, everything's situational. Sup-Sapporo Dosanko life. All right, let's go. And we're back. Part 3.
We're back with situational awareness.
Situational awareness.
Well, before we kind of get into it, how are you on time, Amos? You want to hang out for a bit? Okay.
Everything is situational. Sorry. Yeah. I'm good.
Situation is great right now.
Yes. I just stuck my head out the window, and the wind is like, where's this typhoon?
Oh, really?
Nothing. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Don't jinx it, man. Don't jinx it.
I can say this typhoon absolutely blows.
Oyaji. Or it doesn't blow. It doesn't blow, actually.
It's not blowing at all.
It's not blowing at all.
Man. I have so much things to say, but I should keep it to myself.
No, don't.
I don't want to go there. Yeah.
I spent all this time cleaning the garden just for this. Yeah, that sounds terrible. It's because of being inland and like behind a hill with a lot of trees. It's like nothing happens here.
That is good. I was worried about that. Like, Jamie was telling me about your situation, and maybe you might have not made it tonight. And I was like, bro, where do you live? Are you in like a flood-prone zone or a landslide-prone zone?
No, you live in a highland, right?
Yeah. I get this a lot. People are like, oh, we heard there's like heavy rain or something happened, And it's like, okay, I live on a hill next to the town water supply, in the part of town where all the, the nice part of town where all the politicians live. If anything's going to go wrong, everything's going to get fixed here first. And they actually have maps of, you get a map with the land. This area is susceptible to landslide and
I see,
etc. And you get that whenever you buy a house, it actually has this in detail, this surrounding area. And this was interesting because it turned out in Tokyo, when they had those floods, that certain areas were intentionally designed to flood first. So that if you lived in one of these areas, you were going to get hammered. You were going to most likely suffer.
This is true. Was that the poor zone?
To be true.
Was that like the lower income zone?
No, I don't know. But they said that obviously there's an area in Tokyo where it's between two rivers. And that area, like, there's a point at which if the water gets too high, well, something's got to give somewhere, and they actually staged how it's going to fail. Because there's a point where it's just like, well, there's nothing you can do.
Was it cheap?
But they didn't actually say this, but someone put up a website detailing the actual details of the plan and said, did you know that this areas were designed to flood first? Which is very annoying to find out. But we have landslide indicators, so we know which areas are like. There's a place up the road which is very slopey, and they say prepare to evacuate, because if it starts raining very heavily, then you can get landslide.
Yeah, man, you got to be careful for that. Like, that's the one thing I'm worried about is fucking landslides. I'm not where I live, but yeah. What was that, Jamie?
in Hawaii, like in Hilo, they actually have like the different zoning. So like if you live in a certain zone with tsunamis, or if you live in the path of like where the possible like the lava flows, they let you know. So like, I mean, you can buy land that's cheap, but they let you know, okay, you buy land cheap, but then again, this is like you're in the flood zone, or you're in the lava zone or something. So it's kind of at your own risk, you know.
Like Leilani Estates. Let's just build our houses on directly on top of a active volcano.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, they
100%.
did.
And then
Yeah, they
let's
found that out,
it,
man.
price it
Yeah.
for $1 million.
The price of
Nice
living in
lifestyle
paradise.
till your
Man.
house gets swallowed up by a volcano.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Vegas, just gambling there. Like maybe not in my lifetime, it might be my kids, but hopefully not me, right? No.
What are you talking about?
No. Gambling? Vegas?
No. Building your house on a volcano. Hopefully it's not me. It might be the next generation.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We have our
Let's
own
move
fault
on.
line here for earthquakes. Yeah. We have our own fault line for earthquakes in Fukuoka, which is unique to, which goes down the middle of Fukuoka, which is interesting. So we do have our own unique earthquakes. Thankfully not big, though. So far, anyway. Although Kumamoto certainly... being woken in the middle of the night with an alarm saying there's an earthquake about to happen and the house starting to shake a minute later, that's scary. When the house is not like that, but like that starts happening. Yeah. It's like, oh, crap. Let's just start counting how many seconds it takes us to shake.
Were you used to earthquakes?
No.
Or did you had to get
here we hardly ever have them. No, that was actually scary.
What was your first reaction to your very first earthquake?
The very first one would be living in Tokyo. So, okay. So that's an earthquake. I guess it was probably not much. It probably just a little bit of a shaker. So they come up sometimes. Damn. I think the scary stuff is like usually this like you just get boom and then a little bit and then it's okay. That's nothing.
Like I never. One. Wait, what year was that? Was that the 2011?
Kumamoto.
Oh, a few years on? Oh, okay.
No. Kumamoto was the one after, not the main one. I didn't feel that. My friends in Tokyo, I had friends in Tokyo who fled to Fukuoka. They were so scared. Tokyo, that drove people insane in Tokyo because after the main big one, the 311, that it was shaking like every 15 minutes you get an earthquake. It got so bad. That basically any earthquakes below 5 on the Japanese scale, they stopped reporting because it wasn't worth it. They were getting like what we call an occasional, like here if we got a 4, it was news. They were getting 4s like every 15 minutes.
Holy crap.
How long? Do you know? Months?
There's a map thing. There's this map site. I can't remember what it's called, but it shows like a time lapse of all the earthquakes in Japan. So you see this ... It's like sped up, of course. ... And then all of a sudden you got the big one goes, and the size is indicated by like the size of the dot. It goes, boom, and then it's like just constant for ages until it slows down. So people in Tokyo were getting like shell shock, like PTSD from every few minutes. You'd be shaking again. You wonder if it was another big one. So Kumamoto was like that too. We didn't get so like aftershocks because we were a couple of hours drive north, but we got like you get this emergency warning where your phone's screaming suddenly. And I've actually switched mine off because tonight this is going to keep throwing warnings all the night. It's going to piss me off, and I want to sleep. And so it starts going. All the iDevices. I thought, who's left a toy on? Because it starts going beep beep ding dong ding dong. I thought, what the hell? I never heard one before, and it turned out there's going to be an earthquake. There's an earthquake in Kumamoto, and a minute later everything starts shaking. Like it's not like it's a bit of a shake. It's like da 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 da. And you realize, okay, this is a serious earthquake.
Yeah,
and you have no idea. You have no idea. Am I about to fucking die, or is this about to start to get really worse? And then after about a minute, I think it was about a minute, it stopped, and you go, okay, because it's how long it shakes for, which decides if it's big. And if it's over a minute, it's like, oh, that's serious. And then so it does that, and then the next night, because they had a second, even worse one the next night, and that was like the alarm goes off, and wakes. It was actually late in the evening, maybe, so it woke the kids up still. and then the alarm goes off again, and then it starts shaking, and you go, okay, you can sit there. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
If you can't dive under a table or under a heavy doona, if things start breaking up, you're screwed. So
basically, if that happens and there's nothing to dive under, you just let it happen.
Yeah, you're basically
for the
screwed.
best.
Or you can jump. You can maybe jump out of the house. They say like hopefully if you have leave doors open so that they don't get jammed
or
in the
a
frame
park next door.
There are all sorts of guidelines. But I mean, the house I'm in is new and it's earthquake proof to a degree. And depending on where you are, they have different systems where the high tech ones have. I can't remember in detail. They either have like the mountings for the house are big plates and the house is mounted on points which can slide, or it's like on rollers.
Gives.
Yeah,
I've been in those rooms.
Basically. Yeah.
Like
What happens is they showed a woman sitting in a bath in a simulated one.
Yeah,
they
a
simulated
woman.
7.
You don't want to.
They showed someone sitting in the bath,
swinging around.
They're just shaking it, whereas the actual 7 earthquake would actually destroy the house, so that the house will actually slide on these special. So underneath the house, you've got to imagine underneath the house, the mounting points, the ones I've seen are like huge plates, and then the house sits on these plates and it can slide across them. The other ones, I think, was a roller system where they have 2 cross roller systems, and the house can move around. What they do, you have to see if you're ever seeing houses constructed in Japan. When they do wood houses now, yeah. So you see how they'll do the vertical beams and the horizontal beams, but they won't cross brace like that. They'll brace vertically, so that there's flex, and that's what happens is the house will flex like this. Now they might wreck the plaster in the house. You may get cracks in it, the worst.
So that cross thing, is that like a European thing or a Western thing? Like, you're right. I've never seen.
Yeah,
I've never seen the cross thing in a while.
Well, if you have like a square, it can flex and bend and collapse, right? So you could cross a diagonal bracing it can't do that. Like when you buy a set of vertical shelves, they have cross braces, or and you've seen schools now. A lot of schools have been reinforced because they're on concrete buildings. You'll see they put in that.
Yeah, Hokkaido is like that.
Like that, the steel bracing, because the standards for housing have changed since they built a lot of schools, but they're not going to go and demolish a school and rebuild it. It's just too much money. So they just
reinforce it.
Reinforcement. Yep.
So,
but the way they do build your houses is so they'll sway in the earthquake enough, like a tree will. Sort of
have you been in those rooms when you go to buy a house? It's pretty nuts.
Oh, in the simulated earthquake thing?
Yeah, the earthquake rooms. Like when you go to like a place of house buying. What do you call those places, Jamie? Fill me in. That place of house buying.
I've only been into a science.
but they put you in a room and they just fucking shake you and be like, "This is."
I never went in that room.
You know what? They show you. They show you like, you want this package or you want this package, and they fucking shake you in it, bro. It makes such a big difference in the expensive one compared to the cheap one. It's pretty crazy, man. Yeah,
that's interesting. I've been in a science center one, but not a house one. That's interesting. Maybe it's not in Fukuoka. They don't have it because we don't get earthquakes here, really. We do have like these housing plots, which are all different manufacturers. I've been in those. Check out houses, but now the interesting thing, I read a story from a guy who's an expert on earthquakes, and he was in Tokyo when 3/11 happened, in having a conference about earthquakes when 3/11 struck. And he said, and it's written up, he wrote up about it, it's really fascinating. He's actually having an earthquake. The earthquake started in the middle of the conference. So he gets out his watch and starts counting, okay, it's a minute, it's 2 minutes, it's 3 minutes, it's 4 minutes. It's going on. This is going on and on.
Was he that calm?
And I don't know, but he's sitting like, okay, now we realize this is not just a major earthquake. This is a freaking huge earthquake. Yeah. Actually, recently the video came out of someone took inside Sendai Airport of 7 minutes of shaking. I saw that. Tsunami coming. You saw that? That was recent.
Yeah. That was fucking crazy, man.
Yeah. Bro, my first earthquake, I was fucking running around. I was running around like, what the fuck do we do? What the fuck do we do? I ran upstairs, downstairs.
What the hell, dude? You never have earthquakes in Oahu?
No, there was maybe like 3 of them, and I slept through all of them. So I never experienced anything. That was my first time of the
What?
ground moving and the house shaking. And
Oh,
then,
dude.
but when I ran to every room, everyone was just on their phone. Like,
No big deal.
bro, it was a level 1.
Well, Hilo, dude, we have
It was a
Hilo.
level
We have
1.
the volcano, dude.
Fuck.
So like we've experienced earthquakes a lot. So having a volcano like shaking the ground, like
Yeah,
no big
that's
deal.
a different
Dude.
type of earthquake too, though. Like it's not a plate shifting earthquake. That's like a volcanic earthquake. Like the plate shifting ones are scary, but I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I was like, it's just shaking, and then I was fucking Hollywood. Fuck you, Hollywood. Like that was my reaction. I was like, what the fuck do we do? I was just running like aimlessly. It was
It's
crazy.
freaky, isn't it? Because actually the ground is moving under you. Like the thing you think is the most solid thing
Yeah,
in
yeah,
your life is starting to move.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this is just too much. You can't handle it.
Yeah.
You're destabilizing me, literally.
I was like the first time I was ever on a ship, like a ferry, and it was like maybe it was a very windy day, or the seas were the harbor was a bit rough, and we're kind of like this, and I'm thinking, wow, is this so safe or whatever? I'm looking around. The first thing I thought is to look around to see what other people were reacting. Everyone was this is before smartphones, so they weren't doing this. Everyone was like, yeah, whatever. I was like, okay, obviously it's okay. So that's the only way I figured out it was not dangerous, but it was the first time I'd actually been in rough seas. And it's like, whoa, okay, this was, I don't know what level is actually
like you
dangerous.
knew, right? You knew. You were just like, okay, this is fucked up. Like it's not natural.
It just feels weird at first until you get used to it.
Yeah.
Oh, riding on the back of a motorbike the first time, and you're like, oh, this is just holy shit. How's the bike's going to fall over any second kind of thing. Or I'm going to go flying off.
Yeah.
That kind of experience.
All right. Hey man, you want to ask him like some normal questions before we leave off? Something like I can understand. What's your favorite Japanese food?
This is where it goes off the wall because I'm vegetarian, which is the worst possible thing you can be in Japan.
You're a vegetarian?
I'm vegetarian.
Bro, what kind of vegetables are you eating? You're
Japanese
pretty
ones.
I mean, like
good
you're
quality ones.
You're a good build for a vegetarian.
I think it's partly it's just my build, and I'm just don't move enough and
really
junk. Yeah.
Now, when did you turn a vegetarian?
And COVID. I haven't gone out much so I put on a bit of weight. But yeah, vegetarian.
When did you turn?
Oh, I was doing some meditation. Actually, I originally turned when I was doing Aikido, and I had this guy. We went to Australia, being a mix of hippies doing things like Aikido.
Do you guys do mushrooms?
The summer and winter schools that have vegetarian cooking optional. You could check a box to have vegetarian food. So I did because I felt that my muscles were more relaxed when I didn't eat meat. And then after a week of not eating meat, I just didn't want to eat meat again. So that was it. And then after doing stuff on and off, I did meditation. You can't eat meat and stuff for meditation. Weird stuff starts to happen, which is not good.
But you, sorry, I'm jumping around a bit, but I know you like the Joe Rogan, and he is definitely not a vegetarian guy. But you like him. I don't know. Like being vegetarian, you don't suddenly go, "Oh, that person's not vegetarian. I won't watch their stuff" or something. It doesn't work like that. Oh, you're not vegan. All right.
I'm not.
I got you.
Like, I should be. No, it doesn't. But no, that's terrible.
It's like, fuck you.
Yeah. But
yeah.
no, no. You don't. Yeah, I understand. But like being vegetarian, you don't think, I don't like. You start ignoring everyone who's not vegetarian or whatever. I mean, when I was working in like a retail store many years ago, I used to hang out. I didn't smoke, but I used to hang out with the smokers, and the reason was they were cooler people. They were less uptight. They were relaxed. They were ordinary people. They were nice to talk to, and I preferred hanging out with them.
Thank you.
Nothing to do with them, but even though I thought smoking is disgusting, I didn't care. I like the people,
Yeah.
I mean, for
the
me,
culture, like the culture, right? Like it was.
I like
so different from what you were used to, or something. Probably, I'm not sure.
Probably to a degree. I mean, I was hanging out with we had this woman working there whose husband had died actually. Her husband had been a truck driver, and had time in jail. Anyway, she was really hardcore. This really hardcore woman. She was fantastic. She was just such a cool. She was hardcore, and it was just so cool. Like I was hanging out with her and a group of people. She had a group of people who did stuff like, they worked for a company that was dispatched to do things like stock taking, which they do overnight stock taking, and or sent to businesses where they need temporary workers while they. At the time, they were sent to the business I was working for because they were shifting. They'd bought out the competing company that did online deliveries, and they were slowly shifting everyone to other jobs, and then getting more temp workers in so they could shut it down at the end, because you can just go, and that's the end for temp workers, but you can't do it with normal workers. So they had all these really hardcore people in there who were just extremely down to earth and no bullshit. And I loved hanging around them because they were.
Bruh, I love no bullshit is what I like. Yeah. I love no bullshit. Like I love people where you're either gonna tell me stop it, or you're gonna be like laughing. But I don't like the fake shit. You know, that is some. It's therapeutic, man. No bullshit is great. That's why I love Jamie.
Well, that's, I think, yeah.
Hey, fuck you.
That's cool.
Shut the hell up. Shut the hell up already.
I got it. I got the one. Fuck yeah. 1 point chat.
We both need to get to a dance seminar at the same time.
Yeah.
Bro, I want to go. I'll
tell you a funny story. I'll tell you, since we'll get into my funny stories now.
I like it. Do it.
Which do you want first? Do you want the one about, which is audio related but not related to audio, or do you want the one about my after my mother died, which is and cleaning out the house? You can this is both of these are going to be totally unexpected. I know that sounds really depressing. Don't think of it that way. Which story sounds that you want to?
All right, the mother died one.
I want the mother died one. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
so
I'm sorry. Mother died. My condolences.
Okay. So
how do you do this with a straight face? What the? All right, I like you, bro.
So it's far enough ago I can. Okay, right. This sounds so unsympathetic me saying it, but no, it's all like I'm completely over it. She was sick for a very long time. She refused help. She was embarrassed. She was a doctor actually, and it was a long story. She died. At home, and the neighbor found that she died, and because everyone was checking on her, and I got the phone call and all that. Anyway, so the house was a mess. I wanted to get into too much of the detail. It was pretty horrible. So what happens is they have these special cleaners called bereavement cleaners. Now, they do this. It was a husband and wife team plus some extra people, and they're specially trained for people who die, for cleaning up industrial accidents. So that's as bad as it sounds. The husband does the hardcore stuff. He'll full plastic suit up and take care of the ugly stuff. And so then the wife will come in with her team, and they do it for the government. Like the government will say, this person has died. We can't find any family members. Can you do a clean out? So they have to clean out, maybe it's say a house or an apartment or whatever. And they're trained to search through everything for wills. So like shake out all the books and, because people hide stuff in really old places.
Oh, yeah.
And search for documentation. They're specially trained.
Oatmeal,
and the woman who
you
did
check
this
the oatmeal box.
was one of these straight up hardcore people. She said I employed them to clean out my parents' house. So the husband went in, did the suit thing, and where my mother had died, okay, that sounds horrible, and cleaned the floor because it'd been a bit messy. We won't go into the ugly part.
My mom did the same thing, actually.
Yeah. What? So, but then what happened is the wife came in, and my parents, as families do, accumulated tons and tons and tons of old crap. And we got this gigantic bin, like the car, one size enough you can drive a car into, up the driveway, you just like bumped the edge of this huge tree, which is how big this bin was. You could drive a couple of small cars into it, and filled it over about a week with just crap. Now, this lady said she'd never ever done this with the owner present. So we were doing stuff like we're sitting in the kitchen, and she'd this nostalgia, feeling of nostalgia, because I lived in this house for I'd lived in this house most of my life. Brought up as a child and all this stuff. Everything was nostalgic to me, and it was extremely therapeutic. We'd be like, I pull out something. He says, do you want this? Do you want to keep this? And it's like, and I sit there and she just look at me and she go, chuck it. Just chuck it, and she just put. It was so funny. We're going through stuff. She said, this is all junk. Don't be stupid. Chuck it out. It's old. They have my parents collected the most amazing things. They had these these pots and pans, which were ceramic coated with high tech ceramic. This is back from the 70s or 80s. I don't remember what it was. No, before that, 70s. This would have cost a fortune back in the day.
Yeah.
Stuff that things like that. They had all this, what would have been, the temptation to keep so much stuff was very, very strong.
Oh, sure. I would have kept a ton, probably.
Yeah. And I had to have a garage sale. The garage sale took like 3 weeks to prepare for, even the remaining stuff. And what happened was we had like over 1,000 books in there, and we'd all stored it in the granny flat paper while people rented out the house. And it was so overwhelming that what happened
what is a granny flat?
It's like a special room which is large, just one big room. Plus, it has its own ensuite, so that you can
mother-in-law suite.
Grandparents live in it. Yeah,
mother-in-law suite.
Yeah,
okay. Sorry, just caught me off guard. All right.
Oh, no worries. So it was filled with all the stuff locked up while the other people rented the house, and then we had this huge garage sale because I needed to sell the house, and we had over 1,000 books in there. And what happened was I went down to the local. They have this thing called like in one of the car parks, they have this markets, where you rent it for $15. You rent a space, and then you sell stuff out of the back of your car. Your old
flea
clothes,
market,
your old junk. So like flea market, huge flea market. I went down there went around to the booksellers and said, "Look, do you want to buy any of these books from my house?" And this lovely, lovely lady I met came up to, and she just came in. Something went thunk. Was that she came in?
Is that hurricane? You all right, bro?
Yeah. I don't know what that was. Something went thunk. I can't hear any wind, but anyway.
All right.
And she came in, took one look, and said, "I'll take care of everything." She stood in that room for the whole day of Saturday and sold all the books. She called up other people who do secondhand books. She cleared me out for me. What? She said, "I'll take care of it," and then handed over the over $1,000 that she collected.
This is not in Japan, right?
Coming here with freaking trailers and everything. That was how crazy. That was how.
Oh, no, this is just right.
That was just amazing, really amazing experience. It took us so much effort to clean out that house, and but the bereavement cleaner lady was so therapeutic, just telling me, like, get rid of this stuff. Don't try and keep it and just chuck it, all this crap.
Nice.
You think that was her, like, because that's her job and she's seen it a million times and maybe she saw it in you, kind of thing?
Well, her job most of the time is, if people call her up, which not government contractors, like they'll call up and say, "I need this house cleaned up, just chuck everything."
Yeah.
They don't care if it's worth anything. They just, like, people who maybe they hated their parents or whatever, and they just
do it.
Parents, if they found
do the job,
and they said, "I want everything gone."
Yeah.
Chuck it. And she'd never had a customer in the house at the same time. And we just had this really great few days where it was really therapeutic for me to just go through everything and clean out. Yeah, some of it was pretty unpleasant, to say the least. It was so funny because they opened the fridge and her husband was supposed to have cleared out the fridge, and the fridge had food in it and for weeks and weeks. Oh. It was so foul because and she was so pissed off. She's just swearing about her husband. Her husband wasn't there, just swearing, "That freaking idiot, he should have cleaned this out." And we're pulling out the meters. Putting it in the bag. We were just pissing ourselves, laughing so hard at her predicament. It was so funny. Just the back and forth was just hilarious. So
nice.
For a situation that was otherwise really terrible, it was actually really nice.
Yeah.
So she ended up doing twice because some of the mother came in and helped me twice, and when there's some other issues came up. But anyway, that was an interesting one. But the other story was actually, speaking of it, going back. You asked me about like experience in listening to audio, and I told you about being oversensitized to sound. Yep. I actually had one which made me really realize to bring that home. So I was living in this particular apartment, which was in, there's a kind of bus road goes past the elementary school and all that, where we were living down the road from here before. And you imagine just, 7 apartment buildings. It's pretty dense. And you have these apartments where you have balconies and it's kind of an indent. And a lot of there are kids around who, they come up every year, they're teenagers, they buy motorbikes, they put silencers on them, which are louder than normal mufflers, and they ride around at night pretending to be Bosazoku. And then, the cops eventually bust them and the whole cycle starts again every year. And they always come out in summer. So what happened was, when you ride a loud motorbike up this road at 3 a.m. in the morning, the sound echoes across all the buildings, and it's because of the way the balconies are, it focuses in. And I'm a light sleeper, and it just pissed me off again and again and again and again. And they were out of control. And I got really pissed off. And didn't do what a friend of mine did.
What did you do?
Israel
What did
beat
you
the
do?
shit out of them. He went and beat the shit
what?
out of them.
He actually beat them.
He had a guy
let him finish his story, dude.
down or something with
Bro, I can't. Okay, I'll let you finish.
There was one behind him when he was driving, and they pulled up at the lights. He got out of his car and smacked him across the head. And don't be, listen, he was nuts. But he was living on a main road, which really must have really sucked for him. So what happened was, I started doing a few things. Now you see, they have these number plates at the back, and they're on hinges. So what happens is, during the day they hinge them down. Oh, you can tell the hardcore ones because they bend the corners up to indicate.
Yes, I know that. Yeah.
And then at nighttime they bend them up so they can't be photographed.
Yes.
Now the
I've seen
super
those.
hardcore ones just don't even have number plates, but we didn't have super hardcore ones in Fukuoka. I've only seen one actually, but that's another long story. So what happened was, because it's bent up, some of them, they'd bend them up, but they were still visible. So middle of night, flash photography, boom, I had a very clear picture of them. And I take the picture, and they, of course, realized they were being photographed because, you take flash at 3 a.m. in the morning, just lights up the whole street. And I took the picture down to the cops and said, have it, go for it. And I found out, actually, because of where they were, I walked around because I saw where they'd ride in after they'd had their fun out at night. And I walked down and investigated, and I found 3 of these bikes parked in one area, and I told the cops where they lived, and then they got their bikes. They got a visit from the police, and then these kids got pissed at me and would start taking. One kid took his silencer off and rode up and down with no muffler or silencer up and down at 3 a.m. in the morning, with his finger stuck up at me for when I took the photo. But he didn't realize that I would work in the mornings at the schools and then come home at lunch, and they would go out at night, come home at 4 a.m. Then at 11 a.m., they'd ride down to the shops to buy smokes with the number plate down. Zoom lens, camera, party time. So nighttime, video of them being like little shits. Daytime, me taking pictures of their number plates and taking it down to the cop shop. So what happened is they hauled them all up eventually and confiscated their bikes. So there was apparently the guy at the police station told me they had this whole scheme of buying bikes through the internet and from different prefectures. There's all this shit go down, which we don't know about, but he told me about it. So I busted their gang up, and not the whole city, the whole area I'm in knew about it because my mother-in-law is heavily involved in kind of community stuff. And everyone knew. I had people years later. I got such a reputation. So outside this new house, we have street lights, right? But at nighttime, they leave them on. They're really bright. Now, they used to switch off at 11 p.m., but now they switch them to different lights, and they leave them on all night. This guy who was doing some like volunteer gardening around here, he knew of my reputation. And when I was just chatting to him and I was telling him about buying the house and how the lights were really bright, I didn't just casually mention it. He actually went down to the city hall and had the lights shut off for me.
What?
So I wouldn't be too bright at night.
I remember that story you told me, man. That was funny.
Yeah.
That was great.
That's how much, because they pissed off, these kids on bikes pissed off so many people for so long. I basically found out who they were and had them busted up.
So they were just kids. They weren't like Yakuza. They're just kids.
No, not really. They're not real hardcore ones like you get in Osaka and
Alright.
places like that. Or there are some around, but not so many here.
Yeah. But that, bro. See, Jamie. This
No,
is
but the
what
interesting thing. I'll finish one part of the story about sensitivity. This is where I wanted to get about sensitivity to noise. Okay, now
I like how you bring it all around. Fucking, you keep me on track.
So this road comes up. The road that they ride along comes up. They come up the hill, and it goes up a hill up to the top. And so what would happen is I'd have, say, my windows open. And if I got so sensitized to bike noise, I could tell you which person was riding up the hill. And if I heard a silencer, I had 10 seconds to have my be out there with my camera. 10 seconds from wherever I was in my apartment to be out there with the camera. Now, let's say I have a DSLR, and I'd have to pick it up, and I'd have to set it all with the correct settings to take a picture and blah, 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 blah. It would take way longer than 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So I eventually hung it out on the balcony preset.
They fucking piss you off.
I'd be at the table eating dinner, and I'd hear those like, boom. I'd like boom, shoot out of my chair and flying onto the balcony in like 2 seconds, in a couple of seconds. I gave myself PTSD.
Yeah, I was about to say. I was like, how would you connect this to PTSD?
I did. I became so sensitive to sound. Like you can become sensitized to sound.
Yeah.
I could hear a bike and not only tell that that's a scooter, or that's a guy with a silencer, or that's a Yamaha, or that's a whatever.
So you'd be eating some fucking cheese toast, and you'd be like, "That's that motherfucker right there. I want him."
I could tell, but the sound he made when they revved the bike, which rider it was. I gave myself like the point where every time I heard a bike, it would give me jitters. Every time I heard a silencer on a bike, it was shocking. I was so angry. It was anger plus this oversensitivity. I drove me nuts. It took years to get over.
Throwing a hand up.
Yeah, can I ask a question?
That was the whole point. But there's sensitivity for you.
Wait, who beat the shit out of them? You said there's some Israeli friend or something?
A friend of mine he's gone back to Israel, but he was
did that guy get deported?
Guy. No, he didn't get arrested for it. No, he didn't beat it like that badly. He just had this guy, one of them lived around the corner to his house, and he went over and gives him a slap in the face.
There was no police or anything. It was just a mutual understanding.
He'd go over and like, don't fucking make noise with your bike around my house, you asshole, kind of thing.
That's nice.
Yeah, I'm so afraid of being deported to America. Like,
you're so afraid of your own country now. You don't. I don't want to go back to my country.
I don't want to go back.
I don't want to get deported.
Don't send me back to America,
bro. I'm so afraid to cause a big scene like that. There has been a couple times where I have been like in that situation, but I stopped myself because I really didn't want to get deported back to fucking America.
I know for Japanese people, like someone did a kind of citizen's arrest, tackled some guy who'd done something, and the cops were like, the technical
a Japanese,
thanks you, no problem.
A Japanese person did that?
Yeah, a Japanese person tackled some criminal or something. Technically, what they did to the guy was, assault. But they're like, "Oh, fantastic, great," and they're just kind of like, "Yep, no worries."
Oops.
But yeah.
All right. Okay, it looks like time is running out.
It is. Holy shit, man! I could talk to you forever.
I talk too much.
Yeah.
No, that was great, dude. That was excellent.
Fucking, this is great. I love you.
It was very. It was very fun. It's very fun that I don't have to kind of organize the chat with like I do on my live streams.
Yeah. That'll work. That's so hard. Jamie keeps me in check.
Yeah, I gotta smack him upside the head once in a while. But no, you gotta come back, dude. It was fun tonight, dude. It was actually good to see you, man. It's been a while.
Fun. Yes, it has. So we have to catch up. I keep thinking I want to come up to Hokkaido, and every time something comes up, like bloody typhoons and COVID.
Oh, bro. Hey, Jamie, if he comes up to Hokkaido, call me. I'll come out with you guys.
Yeah,
100%.
Let's go.
Where are you?
I live in Sapporo too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
we
lives
we
about
live
down the road from me.
2 stations away, maybe.
Yeah.
Do you know where Jamie lives? I don't know if you know. I mean, I'm
No,
gonna
Oh, yeah, I have
obviously
his address somewhere.
I'm gonna obviously cut this out, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
we live pretty close.
All right, so should we do it?
So yeah, we
any
should.
further?
Yeah, I mean, I hope once things have calmed down a bit, need to go for. I need to go somewhere because I haven't been anywhere for ages, and it's kind of need to break. So definitely.
Up here,
Hell
up here,
yeah.
dude. Got a
I'm
good
finding
place
how
to go.
bad
Safe.
my terrible
Bro.
internal power skills are still.
My wife works part-time at the hotel, and then there's all these Tokyo people trying to get the not doming. Do you know what doming pack is?
Alright.
It's like the go-to
It's gonna
thing.
cut out, dude. We should.
Oh, it
do
is
the
gonna
goodbye.
cut. All right.
Yeah.
Fuck, we can't do the goodbye right now. You want to do it real quick?
Yeah.
Right. Right.
All
Good
right.
times. Thanks, Amos,
Right,
good.
man. Good to see you, man.
Thank you. See you guys round. I hope.
Yeah,
All
man.
right.
Again.
Thanks for hanging around with us.
All right.
Thanks for all
Thanks
the
for inviting me. It was
information.
excellent. And
Bro,
fun.
anytime. Shoots.
All right.
Holy fuck!